Today we're going to start working on our clue number 3. The first thing we need you to do is get your bag with clue number 3. We also want you to go to your scrap bag that had your leftover fabric that you didn't have to cut from yet. From your background, which is color number 3, we want you to repeat the cutting step for clue number 3. Cut clue number 3, fabric 3, the same quantity again. Set those aside because we'll be using them later. Take out the 8 strips of fabric number 3. You're going to want to take those strips and subcut them into 96 3.5-inch units. Be sure to use a nice sharp rotary cutter. Cut off our selvage and then proceed to cut 96 3.5-inch units. Just like this. Go ahead and do that step now, and we'll see you back here in just a second. Now that you've finished cutting the 96 3.5-inch units from your strips in clue 3 of your background, we're going to learn how to position these onto our suspect A. Be sure to get your suspect A baggie. Using the 4-patch from suspect A, we want to sew a strip onto the right side of our 4-patch unit. Be sure to line it up so that it's nice and even. If you would like to pin these to help secure them in place, feel free to do that. You can simply chain stitch these through your sewing machine. Once you have sewn them with your 1/4-inch seam on the right side, be sure that you have green in the upper left and lower right, or your color that proceeds for your particular ones. Stitch and then press the seam towards the background color. Go ahead and work on this now. You will need to sew 48 of these units as shown. We'll be back in just a few moments. Now that we've completed that step, we have sewn our 3.5-inch strip to the side of our 4-patch suspect A's, and we've pressed them. We now want to put these units back into our suspect A bag. We're going to be coming back to these later and using them in another step. So just go ahead and put them back in that bag and set them aside. Now we want to get our suspect B units. These are the ones, the 4-patch units that we made in clue number 2, and we want to go ahead and get those out. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be sewing a 3.5-inch strip to the right side of our 4-patch unit that we had made in clue number 2. Be sure that your color fabric is in the lower left and upper right of your square. Go ahead and flip the strip over and sew right sides together. Again, you can pin if that's easier for you, and you can just chain stitch these through. We will need to make 48 units, just as you show here. Once you get this done, again, you're going to press the seam away from you or towards the background print. Go ahead and do that step now. Once you have completed sewing the 3.5-inch strip to the 4-patch that were suspect B, go ahead and press them and put them back in the bag that's marked suspect B. We'll be coming back to these later when we start to assemble the block. Now what we want to do is we want to take the rest of the background strips that are in your clue 3 bag. Again, as you had just done, take these strips and cut them into 3.5-inch units. You will need to cut 96 3.5-inch units from these background strips. Go ahead and do that now, and we'll be back in just a moment. Now once you've gotten your units subcut, take your 2-inch squares of your 2 colors and sew them to your strip units, just as you have seen here Also, once you've got them finished, be sure to press the seam towards the larger piece of fabric, which in this case would be our background. Go ahead and get these units made. Once you have them made and pressed, we're then going to sew them to our suspect A's and our suspect B's. Take your suspect A's and with the corresponding strip set, you are going to nest the seam at the bottom. When you're done, your unit will be pressed away from the forepatch to have a completed square. Do the same thing with your unit, your other unit for your suspect B's. When you're doing that, and I'll move this one out of the way and get it positioned so you'll be able to see. For your suspect A's, your strip set will be placed at the bottom. And for your suspect B's, your strip set will be placed at the top. Again, you'll also be pressing it away from the four-patch unit. You will need to make 48 of this one and 48 of this one. So 48 suspect A's and 48 suspect B's. Go ahead and get those units completed. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or stop by the shop. Have a happy time quilting, and we'll see you next week for clue number 4.